Hi guys! Welcome back to Nelly Nummies. We are on day 7 of our 12 days of Treatsmas, and today's treat for you is a classic old school family recipe that I have for you guys. This is an Anise cookie, or Anise. I'm not entirely sure the correct pronunciation of it. But this is a recipe that's been passed down in my family, and I'm excited to share it with you guys. Anise cookies are also known as a licorice cookie. It's not like your red licorice that you might find in the grocery store, and not quite as strong as a black licorice. It's kind of its own unique flavor. The key ingredient that you're going to need for this to give it its unique flavor is anise seed, or anise seed. I'm still not sure of pronunciation. This will be your key thing. So we're going to need about 2 teaspoons of anise. You're also going to need a half teaspoon of cinnamon, a half to a quarter teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 egg, a cup of butter, about quarter to a half cup of chopped nuts. You want to make sure it's finely chopped. 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and then 2.5 cups of flour, 1 cup of brown sugar, and a cup of white sugar. That's what we need all for our cookies. There's a bit more ingredients for this, but it's going to be worthwhile. Now, let me bring you guys in. I'm going to show you how to get started on these. Grab yourself a large bowl, and we're going to add our 1 cup of softened butter to it. And we're going to cream that together using an electric mixer, stand mixer, or you can just use a spoon or spatula. You're going to cream it until it's nice and smooth. And then we're going to add in our brown sugar and our white sugar. And then we're going to cream that together again until it's light and fluffy and it's more of a pale yellow color. Then we're going to add in 1 egg and then mix that in again. Now we're going to work with our anise seed, and you're going to want to grind this up or crush it. And we're going to need 2 teaspoons of that. I'm using a cutting board, and I'm going to use the back of a spoon to crush it. But if you have a mortar and pestle, a spice grinder, or anything similar to that, go ahead and use that because that's going to be much easier than my method here. Grind that up until it's relatively broken up and powdery. And we're going to add that into our creamed sugar mixture. Add in half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and then about 1/4 to a half teaspoon of ground nutmeg. I'm using fresh nutmeg, but you can buy the pre-ground stuff too. And then half a teaspoon of salt, and then 1 teaspoon of baking soda. We're gonna add all this in, and then you're gonna want to mix it up until everything's well blended in. And it's gonna be very smelly if you haven't been smelling the anise already. Now scrape down the sides and to make sure everything is mixed in well. And then we're going to add in our chopped nuts. I'm using walnuts. And then your 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And then we're going to mix this in until everything's well combined. The dough is going to be a very crumbly and almost dry mixture. If you find that it's a little too dry for your preference, you can add a few splashes of water. Once everything is well mixed, dump your dough out onto a clean work surface. This could be your counter or a cutting board, whatever is easiest for you. And we're going to form this dough into a large rectangle, about 8 by 6 inches and 1/2 inch thick. And we're going to cut that into about 12 different pieces. It doesn't have to be exactly the same size pieces. We're going to be rolling each of these little pieces out into a long little rope, about 10 to 12 inches long. Be patient with the dough as it is a drier one, so it's going to be kind of crumbly and you might have to just kind of pat it out a little bit. And if there's cracks that form, just squeeze it back together to help the dough stick to itself. And then once you have all your dough rolled out, lay them onto a parchment or silicone-lined cookie sheet. Space them out about 3 inches apart. And we're going to use a fork to flatten them to about 1/4 inch thick I'm doing a cross-hatch pattern here just to make them look kind of pretty and so it lays flat evenly. Repeat this process with all of your dough. And we're going to bake this for 350 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes and let it cool for 5 minutes on the cookie sheet. Once your cookie logs have cooled down just a little bit, we're going to cut them into about 6 pieces per log. It's going to be easiest to do this when the cookies are still warm. If you let them cool down completely like I accidentally did, it's going to be a very crumbly mess. But if so, that's okay. It just means you get some extra snacks while you're doing some work here. No worries if your pieces aren't exactly the same size. Everyone can choose what size they want. Store these at an airtight container, and they can last for quite a few weeks, honestly. Ta-da! And now we have some Anise cookies. Now these were a little more labor intensive than like your average chocolate chip cookie, but these have a more unique flavor than your standard cookie and something special to make during the holidays. I know for me, this is one of my favorites to make because it brings back memories, especially since this is something my grandmother would make and my mom would make. So it's a special cookie, at least for me. As for the flavor, it's a very unique and special flavor. Speaking of which, I'll give them a little try. So these turned out beautifully, for me at least. Now, if you have a spice grinder or mortar and pestle, that will work great for the Anise seed. Mine I wasn't able to grind up super fine, so there's only traces of the flavor. It's not like overpowering compared to like what the smell might be, but the flavor is nice and mild, and it has then a little lingering after effects of the special Anise seed. It's a little reminiscent of the smell of licorice, but it's a nice lighter special kind of a floral taste. And then of course you have your usual cinnamon in there, but the best thing about these things is they're nice and crisp. I overbaked mine a little bit, but they're still really good. I like mine a little crispy. And then it's super buttery and it's wonderful. Goes great with a glass of milk, if I might say so. If you guys give these cookies a try, let me know in the comments below. I know this flavor isn't for everyone, but I do hope some of you guys enjoy it and have fun with them. And thank you guys again so much for joining me today. I look forward to cooking with you again next time. And remember, please be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I will see you again on day 8 of our 12 days of Treatsmas. Bye guys!